So if we look at the calendar, technically, let's pull it up here again. Next Sunday is officially our last class.
Already?
Yeah. We're in this bizarre Sunday schedule. So according to my calendar, the 29th is our last class. We don't have a class scheduled for the 6th.
Oh, okay.
All right. Of course, we have our flexibility here, but I do want to this week really nail in for the oral presentations. And I want to discuss with you as to when the final report will be due. So in terms of the oral presentations, the way I'm looking at it is, because we have the Sundays and then I do the Fridays as well. So basically, I'm going to be looking to do the oral presentations next Sunday and then the following Friday, which might seem a bit intimidating if you're being asked to do your oral presentation 1 week from today. Of course, yeah, but of course, keep in mind that the sooner you do the oral presentation, the sooner you do it, the sooner it's over with.
Right.
And of course, it's hard to coordinate that when I have so few people in each of these sessions. Chelsea, you're never available on the Fridays, right?
Yeah, because I have another class.
Okay.
With Tom.
Yeah. So, ideally, we do it next Sunday. If that is a bit too much, and neither of you or anyone else in the class wants to do it next Sunday, we're going to have to make arrangements for that week. I do want them done by the end of that week. So by the following, well.
The 29th?
Yeah, the 29th is a week from today.
Yeah.
I'm open. We'd have to arrange it. I'd have to set up the Zoom meeting, because what I'm looking for is I would like to have the final projects submitted during the week of December 6th, right? So that would be 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
Now, what I can offer, if this is what is needed, is to have a class in 2 weeks on the Sunday morning. It's not officially scheduled through Omnivox. I can set up a Zoom meeting and you can do your oral presentations there. Okay, that would be the latest, because that's technically when I want those final reports in. Now, if you're going to be doing, I'm going to basically offer either the 29th, the 4th of December, or the 6th of December.
Okay, I'm okay with the 29th for myself. Yeah.
Okay, so you're so next Sunday.
Yeah.
Excellent. Clay, what about you?
Me too, I guess.
Sorry?
I'm okay with it.
To do it next Sunday?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, Alessandro.
Hi, sir. How's it going?
Well, so what we're discussing now is when to do the oral presentations. So our last class is next Sunday, the 29th.
Our last class is the 29th?
Yeah, at least according to my schedule. Again, I'm willing to schedule another class on the 6th, which I'll probably do anyways for those who want to come in, but that's going to be right around the time that your final reports are due. So in about 2 weeks. Are you? Sorry?
I thought the final report has to be done to do the oral.
Not necessarily. I mean, the idea being that if you do the oral presentation before you finish your final report, feedback you're going to get from the oral presentation could go into giving you an opportunity to fine-tooth the final report itself. That's the option. As I said, the options are to do the oral presentation on the 29th in a week, or the 4th of December, which is the Friday session, or if need be, on the 6th. Right, and that would be 2 weeks from today, which is right around the time the final report. The final report I'm going to be putting in, I'm going to say it's due on the 6th, but if you need a couple of extra days, as long as I get it that week, everything, I'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't think I didn't realize it was already next week. I don't think it'll be ready for next week.
Okay, so what I'll do, and you can't make it, Alessandro, on Fridays, right?
No, I have other classes.
Okay, so I'm going to put you down tentatively now for the 6th.
Okay.
All right, now if you want to move that back up to the 29th or on the 4th, we can make arrangements, all right?
All right. So basically, I'll have the report and the presentation on
At the same time. Yeah, and you're right. Often that's, how it would normally be. But the situation we have here, because we're at a college, we're not actually doing the report. The oral presentation can be done earlier. It'll just mean that you'll be that much more advanced on your report, right? Because to put together your oral presentation, you're going to get your slides together and everything else. So after you do your oral presentation, for those of you who are looking to do it on the 29th, you're going to be well on your way after that. Everything you're going to be doing, preparing this week for that oral presentation, is going to go a long way to having that final report done.
Right.
Okay, so it's to give you guys the ability to look through your schedules. I mean, it's crazy time now, right? You all have your other classes. It's all the end of the semester. You have exams coming up, etc. So you have to see what works best for you. And if you get it done earlier, then that gives you more time to spend on your other classes, etc. All right. Good morning, Maria.
Morning.
Okay, so what we're discussing is for the oral presentations. All right,
Okay.
we're basically, our last class, according to my schedule, is next week, the 29th.
Okay.
And I'm going to want the final reports in on the week of the 6th of December. So that's 2 weeks from today. That's
Okay.
the Sunday. As I said, there's always some flexibility if you need a couple of extra days. But in terms of doing the oral presentation, what I'm offering is to do it either next Sunday, the 29th,
Okay.
or the 4th of December, which is the Friday session.
I think the Friday might be more accurate for me because I think Sundays now that I might be working, so I'm not sure if Sundays might be available for me. So I think the Friday might be more available for myself.
Okay, so
Might be more for me, sorry.
I'm going to put you down for Friday the 4th.
Yeah,
of
that's
December.
perfect.
Okay.
So the essay, the actual final report, that's like I think 12 to 15. How much word did exactly? You
About
mentioned?
2,000, somewhere around 2,000.
Okay, so like yeah, that when does it do exactly that one? You said it's on the 6th?
Yeah, I'm going to put down when I post it this week. I'm going to put it down that the due date is the 6th. But again, I will need it that week.
Okay.
Okay, so if the 6th, if you need a few extra days, anytime 7th, 8th, 9th, but that week I have to have it.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
And as well too, you're gonna let us know like when for like the PowerPoint and stuff, like when we have to submit that one as well and all of that.
The PowerPoint, you mean for your oral presentation?
Right, yes.
Yeah, so for the oral presentation, you put together your PowerPoint. You should be able to bring the PowerPoint to the oral presentation, and you should be able to share your screen.
Okay.
So you can, and then after the oral presentation, you will send me the PowerPoints.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
I don't need them before. If you can send them to me before, obviously, but I'll need them right after you do your oral presentation.
Okay, you're still gonna send the dates, right? Because I feel like I'm gonna
Yeah.
forget when everything's due.
Yeah, no,
But
the dates, the official assignment will be posted in the assignment portal in the next day or two.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so that's good. So you guys are all set. That's 4 of you, and the other 4 I'll track down. We've gone over what's required with the oral presentation. I think we're pretty secure with that. We have, remember, the PowerPoint is up on Omnivox, so you can review that, but it's pretty basic. It's to be about 10 minutes long. Okay? It can be a little shorter, a little more, leave it to you in that range. All right, I would want it to probably, the way to guide yourself is certainly say between 7 and 12 minutes. All right. So that gives you plenty of time. I don't want you to feel rushed when you're doing it. Sometimes when I've done oral presentations, it's 5-minute oral presentations, and that always seems to intimidate, and everyone starts talking too fast. All right. And again, keep in mind that certainly the PowerPoints that you're going to be using, whatever you're going to put on those PowerPoints, is going to be material that you'll more likely than not incorporate into the final report itself. Okay. Now, in terms of the outline, I noticed, I think both Alessandro and Maria, you both submitted outlines, right?
Yes, but I feel like it's not like perfect, but
Okay.
I
So,
just submitted it so I can have it like done for like today, I guess.
okay, so what, with your permission, Maria and Alessandro, I'd like to put yours up on the screen and go over it with everyone. Okay, this is you both of you can resubmit. Okay, that's up to you. What I want to do is use yours as examples as to certain things that I want you to be thinking about that are going to be necessary in your final report, and would probably be helpful to incorporate into that outline. Not much, but I think it'll be clearer once we look at it together. All right.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure I have all that. So oral presentations and the due date for the final report. Okay. All right. So Maria, can I put yours up first?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So we're gonna take a look at this. Now, again, how do I put this delicately? I'm going to go in there, and really pick it apart. And again, I'm gonna go heavy on this, if you will, just to really show you things that can be done with it. And again, you both can redo them, resubmit them. I'm going to be extra intense, so to speak. Okay, because I really want you guys to be able to see what more you can do with this outline that will facilitate things for your final report. So you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute, I think. Okay. So what you've done here is you've given a pretty general outline, laying out how you're going to proceed. What's missing here are a couple things. One is the structure, right, that you're going to need for your final report. And one of the important things about an outline is that you lay it out structurally and model it pretty much as exactly as you can to that final report. That's why I was said to had you referenced that PowerPoint that we went over that gives the structure of the final report, right? So all this is good. I mean, you've got a lot of information. You're indicating what you're planning on doing, your course of action, and all this is really good information. But it doesn't show me a structure, right? You got your main points and your subnotes, but I don't know how that's going to be presented in the final report based on this outline. So let me actually.
Which PowerPoint is it exactly to look at? Because I had looked at the one that says outline in your documents. That's
Okay,
the one I
so
had.
yeah, so there's outline, but and I think I said in the instructions to reference, and I'll show you which one actually.
Okay.
And this will be good for all of you if you haven't been referencing this. I'm pretty sure you did, Alessandro. This one. So this is PowerPoint number 2 that you'll see in Omnivox. Right? It's the one that starts with this. Okay, project proposal and introduction. And the reason why you want to be looking at this while you're putting together, and I would suggest, Maria, that to work a little more on that outline, just so you can get it, you have all the information there, you just need to now put it into this structural format, right? So this is the basic structure, right, of how it's going to look in terms of your final report. Cover page, abstract, table of contents, and the main content. We have here, body of proposal, schedule of work, budget, qualifications, and so on. But of course, it can be, let's see. This is maybe even a better model to use, right? So we have this, which gives you the general structure, right? So you can see where your headings are. We talked about the press release. If you need one, if you're not using a press release, just eliminate that. But the better breakdown even is here. Because what you have here are 2 things that you really want to include, ideally in the outline, and you must have in some manner in your final report. And that's the statement of problem and the solution, right? Whether you title it statement of the problem or problem statement and then solution, because that's ultimately what your project is addressing. Here's an issue, here's a problem, here's a situation that needs improvement, and this is the solution we are proposing to fix it, right? And then you can see here the plan of action, the schedule of that plan of action, the budget, of course, the qualifications, again, are your qualifications. Why should you be leading this project? Okay. Conclusion, and then again with the press release. So what I would suggest that you do is really flush this out, reshape your outline to conform with this or something along these lines, so you have a clearer picture of how the foundation of your report's going to look, the blueprint, right? That's what an outline is. It's your blueprint. Okay, so this is the PowerPoint you want to be looking at, and certainly you're going to want to keep this well at hand while you're writing your report. Okay, now remember, for the oral presentation, that's a very different thing. That is more, how you have to consider the same things and consider what you need to emphasize in that oral presentation. So this can work for that as well. The other thing I want you to, and I should have been emphasizing it a bit more in the past couple of weeks, don't forget integration report. So remember, it comes back to the social science disciplines that you are dealing with. You don't have to necessarily put that in your outline, right? You don't have to say these are the, but remember, we have discussed this. You know what those social science disciplines are. So you ought to remain focused on that, to keep in the back of your mind while you're proceeding through the next 2 weeks, putting together your report and your oral presentation. What are the social science disciplines you're really exploring here, right? Because I'll be looking for that when I'm reading your final report, to make sure that you are integrating them, right? You're using different social science disciplines in tangent together to address the issue at hand, right? And you can throw it into your outline, all right? It doesn't have to be there, but, if for nothing else, for you, so that have that on a piece of paper in front of you, always remembering what you're doing, where you're focusing, how you want to reference that. Right? So if you're dealing with political issues and one of the disciplines you're using is political science, you want to know when you're talking about that particular discipline. And you want to be sure that you're talking about it and relating it to psychology, whatever the other social science discipline you're dealing with. Remember, at least the 2 or as many as you want. Okay, so think about this. We'll come back to this, okay? So it's a matter of just taking the information that you have here, Maria, and just putting it into an outline that will take into account that structure we were just looking at the PowerPoint,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
And,
That's perfect.
okay, and again, resubmit it, you know, in the next, would want these in this week.
Okay.
That's as much for you as it is for me, okay? But, and I'll show you with Alessandro.
Basically, all my information is good. All I gotta do is just restructure it, and that's it.
Yeah, you know, restructure it, and you can add more depth to it
Yeah, of course.
because we're getting closer to that report. So the more you include in your outline, right? I mean, I don't want you to be thinking, oh, what does he want in terms of your grade?
Right.
Yes, I'm going to mark it, and you know, you're all pretty clear how that's going and everything. It's really for you at this point because I put so much emphasis, as you know, on the final report. That's what this whole course is geared towards, right? All these assignments along the way are all meant to help you get there. So keep that in mind. All right. Don't be thinking about what grade, think about what's going to be, because they go hand in hand. If you're thinking about what would be the best and most helpful type of outline for me to have as preparation to write my report, if you're thinking that way, it'll take care of both issues. It'll be helpful for you, and at the same time, it will be a better outline in terms of grading and all that. Right? That's the whole point. That's what I look for. Is this really segueing in the right way to the final report? Okay. Again, if we look at Alessandro's now, where is it? Huh. There we go. So here you can see that Alessandro has actually started, right? You obviously, Alessandro, looked at that PowerPoint, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Maria, you can see how he has started to break it down into these categories. Now, that being said, Alessandro, you know, you have, again, all your information is here. It's good, and it's in the right places. Of course, this, when you get into the body, could be more detailed.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because I always thought outlines are just like. So yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no,
Just,
this is the thing with outlines, right? People say, well, an outline, it's just an outline. It's not that. Outline can be as detailed as you want it to be. Okay, and you know, first and foremost is to make sure that you have your information, right, and you have your sources that you're going to be using. But it's really so important. The more detailed it is in terms of the structure. So you have this information here regarding the body of the report, but you don't have those breakdowns, budget, things like that. Be thinking about that. If you want to modify this, and I suggest why not, break it down even more so. The other thing here is, again, you see what your argument is, and where your conclusions about the lockdowns and mask mandates. What you might want to work on here is more specifically your solution. Okay, you're saying what you don't think should happen, right? About lockdowns and how bad it is for the economy, mental health, all really good points. Plenty of information out there, plenty of people making this argument. What will really elevate this is more clearly indicating what is your suggestion then. Okay, what is your call to action?
So would that be in, because let's say we have the body of the reasons of the problem, so that we have the problem,
Well,
these three things are part of the problem, and then another paragraph for the solution?
Yes. Okay, so I mean, you want that solution, right? Again, you're not writing an essay to critique a policy. You need to critique the policy to show, here's the problem. You got your problem here. Here's the problem. In your argument, you know, the way that the government is proceeding to deal with the coronavirus is flawed, right? You're going to make that case, anticipating that people will object, right? You remember, always anticipate those objections. One of the ways you address those objections is by, this is what I propose we do instead. And I'm not really seeing that here.
No, yeah, you're right. I didn't put it there.
Yeah,
Right, solution.
and that's essential. Okay, and you want to be, you know, very clear on what your alternative approach is, and be thinking when you word it and start putting it together in more detail, anticipating people who are going to say, no, this is the only way to go about it, because we get a lot of that. I mean, it's a fascinating topic, very topical, obviously, really very much dealing with what we're dealing with now. So you're really engaging in a very controversial subject.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to convey a type of authority and confidence in proposing a solution. And the solution can't be too broad and general. You need to make it specific, right? And then you want to be thinking as well, in terms of your solution, how do you implement it? All right?
Yeah.
And that may mean lobbying the government. You mentioned here that one of the things you could latch on to, private businesses should mandate a mask if they want to. Be careful with if they want to, right? Because who's going to want to, and so on. And what you seem to, possible solution that you're offering is leave it to private businesses. Put the trust in the business community, which then I would suggest you would want to meet with business community leaders. That could be a course of action to organize a conference with private businessmen and businesswomen in Montreal to discuss, so everyone gets on a uniform page about mask wearing in the stores. You know, how do we go about doing this? Do we hand out masks? You know, all those things. Or, you know, that the business community says no masks, but then you'd have to find, you know, how is that going to help with the virus? You have to have some kind of logic, right, to whatever solution you propose. So
Yeah.
to me, the way to go about it here would be to be looking at that business community. What are the organizations that keep the business community together? Meet with them and develop a policy so that it seems to be what you're arguing here, and it's an argument we're hearing a lot, is government stay out of it. Right? We don't want to be told and you know, and be controlled by the government. So the individuals, in this case, the business community, will all come to agree. So you'd organize a conference that would have not just the business people, small private businesses and so on, but the community leaders. So you would break it down into the community. Let the communities, each individual community, make decisions for their townships, if you will, as to how to proceed. But you have to have something in place to proceed. You know, if you're going to advocate for, you know, we don't do anything and we just go after herd immunity, okay, that's your choice, but you have to then present it in a logical way. Think back to when we were discussing logical fallacies and making an argument, right? So that's what you need here. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So really get focused, because until you have that, you can't really start writing your report. And you can absolutely incorporate that here into your outline. This is where you should. Right? That's why we're going over it. And I would again bring you back to this, and particularly this one. Okay. Look at these two right here. And while you're looking at that and putting together, this goes for everyone, be thinking of those disciplines that you are integrating. So obviously, Alessandra, you have an element of the political science, psychology's there, right? Because of the mental health issues. You want to bring in someone to the conference who are mental health experts, talking about the impact this is having, right? Business community, so you're also getting into economics. You've got a lot to work with there, Alessandro. All right, so
All right.
keeping those things in mind and then break it down accordingly. This is flexible to some degree, but you do want something that is a clear statement of the problem and your solution, your course of action. Well, again, if it's not a clear absolute problem, it's a situation that needs improvement. You can take that angle as well, Alessandro. Right. Same thing with you, Maria. Right. So everything and you, Chelsea, and you, Le, all this is for your benefit as well. I haven't seen your drafts of your outlines yet, but now you're getting a clearer picture as to what is going to be looked for here.
And what slides were the, you said we need to mention what area we are writing about, like you said, economics or mental health, psychology or whatever, like the little topics.
Yeah, the social science disciplines.
Yes.
Right.
What is that what the PowerPoint is called?
The PowerPoint? No, I don't have a PowerPoint with. Actually, I can put one up if you'd like on the.
Oh, you didn't.
Yeah, I don't think that if I put up a PowerPoint, I know we talked about the social science disciplines, but you guys, you're pretty familiar with them, right? You're in the social sciences, right? So the whole idea, this comes back to the idea of what this course is, right? Integration. You're integrating different social science disciplines. You're all doing it, right? It's just, we haven't, except for a few weeks ago, we haven't been talking specifically about that social science and that social science discipline. But of course, all your projects lend themselves to integration of different segments of the social science disciplines, among other things. All right, so the idea here is that you are building a report looking at the problem and the solution from different angles. So again, from a psychological perspective, from a political perspective, from an economic perspective, from a human rights perspective for some of you. Okay, so it's just to be aware of that, and then if you can elaborate on that in terms of the specific social science disciplines as much as you want in your final report. But you'll want to use those terms. You're going to want to, the political dimension here. Boom, that's going to alert your reader. You're dealing with political science, and the psychological dimension. Boom, that's psychology. All right, the economic, which all of you have to do at some level, if nothing else, just the economics of the money you have to generate to have your projects realized, but also in case of you, Alessandro, the economics of how the society is dealing with the economic fallout from having lockdowns. I mean, you have a lot to work with. I'm using yours, Alessandro, because it's there and it's very topical. Toronto is going back into a full lockdown. Right? You're not going to be able to go into retail stores in Toronto after tomorrow. Only curbside pickup. Back to where it was like here during the first couple months. So the impact that has on the economy is clear, and the impact that has psychologically and politically. You got three right there. So just keep those in mind and think about them when you're putting together your report and your oral presentation.
And you needed 3 in your outline? In my story?
In your report. The idea is to have, at least 2, ideally 3. But again, you all have, I'm recalling, at least the 2, if not 3 there. I mean, again, social sciences really branch into, everything we do to a large extent. But you want to be aware of it and let your reader, your audience, know that you're aware of it. So you can be starting certain sections from a political perspective, okay? And then another section from an economic perspective, okay? And then from a
Yeah, okay.
psychological perspective, right? How you incorporate that into your report, well, as we go back to what, how you broke it down in the, main content, body of the proposal here, the body of the proposal in this, whoops, what have I done? Is quite open, but in your introduction, remember we talked about background information, things like that. Good idea to go over this, and there's another PowerPoint as well dealing with the look of the final project. The key is to have some background information, and it's in that introduction where you'll probably, so you can break down your introduction. You can just have an introduction, you can have an introduction, and you can have a subheading saying background information or something along those lines. It's in there that you will be demonstrating your awareness of the social science disciplines. This problem will be approached from a political, economic, and psychological perspective. Something along those lines in terms of how you phrase it. Okay, and again, all of your projects lend themselves to that. Right? If you're not sure, then if that's troubling you in any way, get in touch with me. We'll meet one-on-one and go through it together. Right? But I've looked at all your proposals and everything, and it's there. Right? And sometimes we forget it's there because we're just thinking about how we're going to write it and everything else. But always, I should have been emphasizing this probably a bit more over the last couple of weeks. That's why I'm putting so much emphasis into it now, is to remind yourselves what this course is about. Okay, so it can be incorporated in a variety of different ways.
Sir,
Yes.
I submitted my outline. Can you clarify what's the qualifications again? You can open mine if you want.
Oh, did you submit it?
Just like a couple minutes ago.
Okay, great. Let's pull it up. That would be fantastic.
Just like an ad for as we're talking about it.
So hold on. Get out of this. Let me go and find it. Oh, that's why. Wrong place. Hold on. Sorry. I'll be right with you. And back here. Oh, there we are. All right, so I'm getting a first look at this at the same time, so that's good. Okay, no, so you've been following the same type. So again, this is going to be good. Everyone, helpful for everyone, right? So you have it broken down. You have your executive summary, where you're giving examples. These numbers will catch them. I see. Excellent the way you're wording this, because it's more for you than anyone else. I mean, you do have to submit it, but it's again. So these numbers will catch the reader's eye. So you're reminding yourself in the outline why this is going here as well. Okay. Now be careful with this, though. Again, for the outline, it's fine. It's a lot of information here. So remember, the executive summary is a summary. So you're going to have to be really tight in the way that you write it, so it doesn't bleed out into what's going to be coming next, which is the body, right? So here, table of contents, you'll fill in, list of figures, you'll fill in, introduction, excellent, right? Background information about, this is where in the introduction, again, you can break down this introduction even and have subheadings in your introduction. I don't mind. Okay. Right? That whatever is working. What I do ask is that you be consistent with it. So if you're going to be breaking down each information with subheadings, or you can just incorporate it all into the introduction. As long as, yes, I'm seeing the background information. All right. Statement of problem. Okay. Right. Excellent. Oh yeah, you've done a very thorough job here. Okay, you got your plan of action. This is a really good model for everyone to be looking at right now. Okay. Got your budget. Okay, so revisit the budget again, just to make sure that there isn't something, right, that you can, that you're missing if you need money for something, right? So I'm looking here again at the solution. So here, if you're going to be organizing a community task force, yeah, you know, if you can, if there's no costs, I don't know if there'd be some kind of cost you might incur here. Yeah. Well, let me ask you as I'm going through this, and again, did you, sorry, you started off with a specific question about this, Chelsea?
My question. Oh yeah. For the qualifications,
Oh yeah, so the qualifications are your qualifications.
like I say that I'm a student. Like,
Yeah, and you know, I mean, again, you're limited. You can embellish a little bit, okay, but not go overboard. But you know, why the way to look at the qualifications, and it doesn't have to be too elaborate, but it's an important component because again, one of the questions your audience will have, well, who are you to be leading this or organizing this?
right.
So think about what you could put in your qualifications. I'm a student at TAB University studying this, whatever. If there's anything in previous experiences you've had in terms of organizing events or anything along those lines,
How about
that's
like
where,
work experience and like working with international students? Is that yeah?
yes,
Okay.
because of the nature of the topic, right? If you've worked with international students, so you are aware of and have talked with them and have been very much involved in their community in certain respects, yes. How you phrase that, again, you don't want to phrase it too informally. You don't want to say, hey, I hang out with some international students, right? You want to, that's what I meant by embellish. You want to phrase it in such a way that lends it a sense of authority.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so that goes for all of you. All right, you should have this qualifications section, and you do the best you can with it because it's limited, but it's an important one because it's where you're, well, for all intents and purposes, selling yourself, right? That you are capable of doing this. Okay, so in this one again, revisit the budget, make sure there's, you know, not some whatever cost that may be incurred in putting this together, right? Because you're organizing a task force. Yes, with the COVID, it means so it's all going to have to be long distance, but, or does it? Think about that a little bit. Just leave it at that. And again, be thinking while you're doing this, another great way of coming back to what I was saying earlier, what are the social science disciplines that you are engaging here? And yes, if you want to help you, you can throw that in as part of your outline. You know, put a little section here, social science disciplines involved.
Okay.
All right, that I'm not going to insist on that because I should have mentioned it if I wanted that earlier, obviously. But now that we're talking and now that, you know, this subject has come up, I think it'd probably be a pretty good idea so that you're all feeling, you know, you're clear on which social science disciplines you're engaging. Okay. So, yes, everyone, I mean, well, obviously Maria and Alessandro, it's actually kind of works out quite well in terms of what I was hoping this would do. We've seen 3 outlines. They're all different. All of them have got the information that's needed. All right, that can be improvements and all this stuff. But we also saw, basically what we saw here, I would suggest, is 3 states of an outline. And what I mean by that is, Maria's, yours was like, a first iteration of an outline. It's great. You got your information there and so on. Elaborate on it, fine tune it, and particularly with you, Maria, and get it into that structural format. You've got all the information, you'll be there. We look at Alessandro's, he did a bit of that, right? He started looking at the structure, but there's still some areas where it's could be elaborated on. You've gone with a very straight point by point, and that structural element, you just have the body and you didn't break that down more specifically. And then we have Chelsea's, which did break it down much more so. So my suggestion is that you strive towards getting as close to the details like Chelsea's doing as you're comfortable with it. Doesn't have to be as long as Chelsea's. I mean, Chelsea, you put a lot of information in there. It's great. And again, don't be thinking about it in terms of what grade you're going to get. You're all going to do fine on the grading on your outlines. Okay? It's more, how is it going to help you? And I think you can all see that Chelsea, by putting so much information into hers, is closer and more prepared for the actual writing of the report. And that's what you want to do with the outlines, is get you closer to that moment. Okay? Is that questions? Concerns?
No, sounds good, yeah.
Okay. So again, we'll wrap it up here unless there's more questions, but the emphasis on making sure that your outline is informing your audience, or informing you as well, of the structural components of the final report. And be thinking about the social science disciplines that are involved. While you're going over your outlines here and getting them ready for final turn in, look at, like with you, Chelsea, as I said, look at that budget. Look about, how are you going to develop this council?
Okay.
And what does that entail? Who's going to be part of the council? This is where you get experts in their field. Same thing with you, Maria. Who you're going to contact these women and these organizations and whatnot. Get as specific as you can, and that's where you'll draw on your source material. Okay, and with the protest, everything that's involved in. Remember, you have to get permits for protests. Right, you're going in terms of your budget. That's part of your budget, Maria. You're going to have signs, right? You know how a protest works. You want to get all those details, right? And Alessandro, for you, it's mainly what's your alternative. Okay, that's what you want to. That's coming back to you. So you can see all 3. We've talked about all 3 of these, and everywhere that the 3 could be more fully explored. And also, I hope you're noting how all 3 of them are related, right? In terms of the process of putting together an outline. And I think one last thing with you, Chelsea, yours very much, I think, does lend itself to the idea of a press release. Okay, or getting the press involved. Maria, yours as well. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a section press release and write a press release, because we haven't discussed the structure of a press release, so I'm not going to ask you to do that. But what it should do, and that's why leaving that in the PowerPoint when you see that press release, how can you utilize the media and the press, right, to make this, right? You're going to have a council, but you need people to know about it, right? Maria, you're going to have a protest. You want the press to know. You want them there. You want to be on the 6 o'clock news. Okay. And Alessandro, that depends on what your alternatives are and how public you want it to be. Yours doesn't lend itself as much to the idea of the involvement of the press. You're seemingly more fixed on this community leadership. Let the communities come up with solutions and to work. Perhaps another way to look at it, Alessandro, is the community business leaders and community leaders and local politicians, perhaps. Not Legault dictating what policy is, but our community leaders, that includes the political leaders. And then also be thinking about the press. And do you want to call a press conference? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It goes for all of you, right? How about a press conference? And then if you're going down that path and you want to try to incorporate a press release, I can certainly send you information on what a press release looks like, or look it up yourself. I don't, you can put in there something without me having to go over it with you. And if you're not sure, then just get in touch with me and we'll look at it together. How's that sound?
Good. Thank you.
Good.
Okay. As always, we've got our dates down in terms of, you all know when, and I'll be posting something so that everyone can see when they're doing it. I'll be in touch with the other 4 in our class. So for the oral presentations, we have Lay and Chelsea will be doing it next Sunday. Alessandro the following Sunday on the 6th, and Maria, you'll be doing it on the 4th, the Friday, the 4th. All right. Guys, I know it's really busy time. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Okay. We'll find a time to go over things if you're concerned about your state of the outline, more importantly, the final report. And with these outlines, look them over, modify them, but I would like them in the next few days. Okay, certainly by the end of the week. All right. So, and if you want me to look it over before you do a final submission of it, send it to me and I will. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
We're good.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Go to it. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And